Do you believe in God? Who is God to you?
Yes, of course I believe in God. My God is not someone who's up there. My God is all encompassing. He's around us everywhere. He's a being that is beyond concept to many people, but someone that I feel is a big part of who I am, who our family is, and what we worship, have a foundation in, and all believe in. And it's kind of a hard word if you think of, you ask me if I believe in, I'm saying yes, we believe in as a family, because you go back to what is belief, right? And then you think, well, it's about faith. It's about hope. It's about going back to all the things that we've read and have learned and thinking about intellectually and with your heart. And I believe, like I hope that you and Jack believe, and my family believes, that there is a higher power. I feel it. I know that's what has led me to all the decisions and choices that I've made in my life.
Describe your relationship with God.
Aiden, I've always told you, Jesus Christ is my best friend. So I went to Jack's football banquet this weekend, as you all know, and I met his football coach, which has changed. I don't know if your theology teacher knows that he plays college football. And he said, this is his philosophy. First one is God. Second one is family. Third one is education. And fourth is football. And I thought, that's exactly how the Skipper family rolls. God is the most pivotal thing in our lives. And if we don't have God, and we don't have Jesus Christ, and if we don't have the Holy Spirit, then we don't really have anything. Because without faith, without hope, without love, then we really aren't anything. Go back to when we went to spring break to Chicago for Jack's 16th birthday. And there was smoke coming out of the chimney in the Vatican. What did we do? We're waiting in baggage claim at O'Hare. And we said a prayer. And not only was it with Pope Francis, but he was a Jesuit. Praise Jesus.
Describe how you pray or connect to God.
I pray every single day. I don't just pray at night. I don't just pray at night. I pray all the time. I pray in thanksgiving. I pray in heartfelt. I pray in sadness. I pray in grief. I pray for my friends. I pray for my family. I pray all the time.
When have you felt closest to God?
I felt closest to God when I went away to college, and you struggled during that transition. I felt closest to God when I fell in love with your father, and I knew it was the right thing. The day I married your father, both days that the two of you were born, these great joys in your life, but I also felt, why are you going to make me cry? Closest to God, the day your grandpa died, and I held his hand and we said the rosary together. Well, I mean, he couldn't say it, right? But I held his hand and I said the rosary with him. I mean, it was just he and I in the room, and it was a very intimate moment. Those are important times in your lives. closest to God at your confirmation. No, not your confirmation, Jack's confirmation, but your communions, and when your whole house is filled with your friends and family. I mean, that's pretty awesome. Closest to God when you ask your sponsors, to be a part of our spiritual families. Those are really important times in our lives.
So I guess you've kind of answered the next question, which is, have you ever had a profound religious experience, like a moment of conversion or reawakening?
Oh, no, I actually can answer that a little bit further. Moment of conversion, right? So what about your father? That was kind of my moment of conversion. I mean, your father had never been baptized, never had gone through any formal training. He certainly had gone to church as a child, and he'll tell you his own experience later on. But here's a boy in college, and he actually goes to Mass with me in college on Sundays, including midnight Mass, goes every single Sunday for 12 years, not even a Catholic, and then decides to become a Catholic, and then goes through the very rigorous RCI program at St. Lawrence to become a Catholic. So I feel like I had this helping and assistance of a conversion of your father becoming a Catholic, in which he received all three sacraments on Easter Vigil.
Who do you look up to for the relationship with God?
In my formative years, my mother. In my adult lifehood, I've got very spiritual friends, like Martha Jones. She's a very spiritual person. Susie Murray is a very spiritual person.
These are very close friends of yours?
Martha Jones is. People that you meet in all walks of life. Priests, Father Rock, you know how very close he was to our family. Marrying your father and I, baptizing you. How many Sunday dinners he ate at our house and shared so many stories with us about the priesthood. Father Drew.
Which Christian tradition or church do you belong to? Why do you belong to that church?
Oh, I've already mentioned St. Lawrence here in Sugar Land.
Not that kind of church. Not parish.
Denomination. Oh, okay, we're Catholic.
Why do you belong to that church?
Well, I was a cradle Catholic. But I actually, as a child and growing up in Plains, Georgia, southern Georgia, I attended many of my friends' different churches. My mother was of the belief that if you went to a Baptist or an Episcopalian or a Methodist, which all my friends were, you still had to go to your own Catholic church, which I'm totally fine with. I wholeheartedly agree with. And I still do. And so I was subjected to lots of different religions, but I always felt comfortable in my own. I love the formality of Mass, knowing what to do, of knowing the prayers, of that everybody is involved in it, and the songs, and it's a place that I call home.
So you pretty much answered the next questions, which were, did you grow up as a Christian? What do you most remember about your faith? What do you remember about the faith of your parents? Is there anything else you'd like to reiterate about that?
If you can believe this or not, I'm not sure I've ever told you this, but Papa Bob was an altar boy. And I think that really helped, is having your parents being of the same faith. When your father and I got married, and we went through our pre-Cana classes, that's what it's called when you get married in the Catholic Church. They don't ask for your father to become a Catholic, but they do ask that in order for us to get married in the Catholic faith, that we raise our children in the Catholic faith. And your father wholeheartedly supported that we would raise the two of you together in the same faith, and that was very important to both of us. And so I had no doubt that we would continue on with our Catholic faith, and so therefore he was very happy with that.
What impact has your membership in the church had upon you?
I really think I've answered all of that, right? Because I've shared a lot about my experience. What impact? What it has made a massive impact on me. I think it's formed who a big part of the being of who I am, and the big part of who you are.
What do you think are your most important obligations as a member of the church? How have you been active in your church?
Well, that's a very good question. Number one is I always think you have to give back. You don't always have to give back monetarily, which I think is a big thing that people struggle with because a lot of people don't have money. I think there is a financial obligation because the church cannot survive without a monetary contribution. But for me, I mean, obviously we've had massive amounts of school involvement, but in the church, I've held many positions in the church. I've chaired the church bazaar for a 3-year role. I've volunteered in many different roles at the church, in the church's ladies' guild. Oh my gosh, I probably should have read that question. I've been a little more prepared with all my different things that I've done there. But, and I've made sure that you guys have been involved. We've done things together, sponsored Thanksgiving families. I've made sure that you guys have been involved in volunteering, that we do things as a family as well as we do things individually, because I think it's very important that we show our commitment to the church together and individually, so people see that not only do we worship there, but we give back to a place that we really care about.
Have you ever considered working for your church as a minister or other religious person? Nun, priest, deacon, etc.
Well, at one point in my life when I had time, I was an extraordinary Eucharistic minister, but unfortunately, I mean, I'm not always in town, right, because of my travel schedule.
Was it important that you raise your child in your church? Why?
Well, I answered that question earlier when I talked about the pre-Cana, but yes, absolutely. There's no doubt about it that I always felt strongly convicted that our children needed to have had a strong foundation in the Catholic community to find a place where they felt comfortable. I pray every day that you two will continue on with that.
Did you choose Strake Jesuit for me because of its Christian values? Why did that matter?
We chose Strake Jesuit for a multitude of reasons, but the Catholic Foundation was one of the most important ones for us. It mattered because we wanted a continuation of your Catholic education. I mean, you've been in a Catholic education since you were 3. So there was no doubt about it that your Catholic education was extremely important to us.
Thank you.
You're welcome.